You know, we came back from a million women gathering on the mall. What an extraordinary day. Maybe the most significant call I've ever been a part of. The shift that's taking place in America, the reform that's taking place, and the storyline that we're hearing of breakouts of God's movement, revival, baptisms, miracles taking place, now going to Communion America, which we're mobilizing. LEM is mobilizing with David Bradshaw, Waking the Dawn. It's so exciting. God's movement is taking place. God gave me a word through these Jewish men, 3 men years ago, that your lion is abortion, your bear is the homosexual movement, and your Goliath will be the battle for Jerusalem. What I'm really stirred with is that Roe v. Wade is ended, but there is a rising tide of a new breed that we're fueling, that are challenging the 486 pill. They're challenging all these strongholds, and many are falling in these days. I believe the prayers that LEM has been a part of moving all these years is now bearing massive fruit. Recently, I received a text from a dear man who said, I am praying and having meetings, and those struggling with same-sex desires, he says, are having instantaneous freedom. Now, I'm not saying it's always instantaneous, but we prayed at 1 million women for 100,000 LGBTQ to be saved and transformed. It's happening right now. I believe our prayers are prevailing. And so even recently, as we're moving, LEM is moving according to the plan and the vision that your Goliath will be the battle for Jerusalem. Recently, I was praying and fasting after 32 days of fasting in Bethel and holding the Great Communion Revival there. It was a defining moment for me, I believe, and a shifting that began to take place. And I was praying early in the morning, which I do, overlooking this area in Colorado Springs. And I was praying, and I felt like the Lord said, you are now shifting much of your vision to Israel, to gathering the youth of the world to Israel, to love Israel, a spiritual aliyah, to establish a place of prayer on that wailing wall, gathering 1 million women to take pilgrimage and pray, Maranatha, and standing against anti-Semitism. As I was praying this, and I felt like I needed to build an altar and say, I'm going to Jerusalem, I suddenly turned my eyes and I looked down into the valley and I see burning smoke, huge billows of smoke and flame. I can't see it real clearly because there were trees covering. And I said, some house is on fire. And very clearly the thought came to me, I will turn aside and see this wonderful sight, like Moses said. I literally, in my car, I drove to the smoke and I couldn't believe it. There was a series of bushes in this movie theater parking lot with billowing flames. Fire trucks were coming from all over to put the flames out. And I'm standing there and the Lord spoke to me, this is your burning bush moment. And I knew like Moses had a burning bush, he was giving me a burning bush to dare to believe that the last stand, this final journey of LEM would be to raise up prayer for all of Israel, the salvation of Israel, and for the standing against anti-Semitism and God's people and mobilizing the world to pray. I believe LEM stepping into its historic moment and the plan for which it was even, God bore it. And so I want you to move with us in our prophetic vision. Help us fund this movement. We need finances. We'll be traveling. I'll be going to England. I'm going to England soon. We're in Manchester. The Zionist movement broke out. We're believing for England, Spain, where the nations of the earth who have stood against Israel in their history, that God's going to turn them back and he will judge the nations that divide Israel. I'm asking the Lord to put his hand upon me. Another push. I'm still believing for America. I'm believing and helping mobilize Cheon for governor in California. We're going to call a 40-day fast, probably from San Francisco to Israel next year. Will you support us and pray with us for these pushes, these major pushes for America and for Israel. Thank you so much for your support over the years. Would you give outrageously and help us fulfill the divine purpose?